Hello, everybody. All right, so starting in a couple minutes, the question period of the day is the G7 meeting. There's a few things. Just let me shrink this here. Let me shrink my picture. Sound is on now. Thanks for trolling when the sound's on now. I don't have the sound on Parliament. Righty. Let me just do a little adjustment on this thing. There we go. Come on. All right. Parliament starting in a few minutes. The big news of the day is that Mark Carney has a penciled deal with Trump. And that's great news, I must say. Hey, who doesn't think that's great news? So maybe no 50% tariffs on our steel, which is outrageous, especially when a lot of our steel companies are literally owned by American steel companies, you know. But it looks to be fairly good situation of a deal. We won't find out the G7 coming up. We won't find out before the G7 meeting. So that's good. I have to delete. And that should be good. That should be good. It's another thing. Just give me a second here. All righty. Yeah. It's starting in 9 minutes. Oh, I gotta lower this thing down. Okay. The big news is that G7, everyone's invited. We got Saudi Arabia, we got India, a few other places too as well have been invited. We'll see how that goes. The G7, of course, obviously will be there. Trump will be there. Hopefully it'll go well. No deal yet on what the premiers, I don't want to call them a pet project, but they kind of are, the premiers projects. No word on that. Not yet. Not yet. What else do we have? Pet project, but they kind of are, the okay. Well, you don't need an invite. You can go, the G7. I can just type it in here. Check out the news. 2025. The G7 presidency from January 1st to December 31st, 2025. Is Canada. So, Kananaskis, G7 2025. It's in Kananaskis. Okay, here's the official readout. Back up here a bit. There we go. As we mark the 50th anniversary for the first G7 summit, Canada is proud to take up the 2025 G7 presidency. This year will be the opportunity for Canada to demonstrate our leadership and advance meaningful dialogue, collective action, and innovative solutions for the benefit of all peoples. The 2025 G7 Leaders Summit will be held in Kananaskis, Alberta, from June 15th to June 17th, 2025. From international peace and security to global economic stability and growth to the digital transition. Today, global challenges and opportunities require us to work together to find a shared solution. I recommend everybody check out this Chatham House speech by Mark Rutte, the head of NATO. He gave a very alarming speech. He said that U.S., Europe, Canada, of course, combined, U.S. and EU and North America, combined produces 25% or 1/4 of the ammunition that Russia is. And Russia's not using it all in the Ukraine. They're actually stockpiling some of it. The mass production of these supersonic missiles that's happening over in another Asian country, which isn't an issue with us, but the nuclear ship that fell in North Korea, they launched a ship. Google that one. They launched a ship, and it didn't work out very well for them. I wonder if there was sabotage, but it was a nuclear ship, definitely a big problem. North Korea is literally fighting in the Ukraine right now, so if anyone thinks, well, it's not that big a deal, like they literally have their soldiers. So like once you start sending your soldiers, they're trying to get on the job training, so to speak. And it's not a very good thing. So we're not producing enough, and because we're not producing enough ammunition, just regular 7.77 artillery shells is the number one requirement in any war, in real war, not just like skirmishes, like real when it's hot and heavy. Drones are coming, yes, but even still, it's these 7.77s. Because there's not much being made in the West, the prices have gone up. So the price has gone up, but we're not producing anymore. And this is like 2 years they've been working on it. Mark Rutte was like really adamant. He's like, this has to be done. Croatia, of all countries, has stepped up, and they said, okay, well, we'll start producing these. So they opened up a bunch of factories. It was a very big government initiative. Google it. A very big transition, but it's not up yet. Holland is actually one of the largest producers of 7.77. Canada, so in this $9 billion, there's going to be an increase to actually go to 2.1%, and now the big ask is 3.5%, because just to hold back what's happening, and the prices are just going up, and so Canada basically, according to reports, I don't know. They only have training rounds. They don't actually have real rounds, like, because they were asking, why don't you give the Ukraine some? They're like, we don't have any. We only have the training rounds, 7.76 or whatever. We don't have the real rounds. So, and we don't have any production in this country right now. There was one company that did it, and they have to do some major retooling, and they need money to do this, and yada, 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 as Seinfeld would say. It's a very grim situation. When like he said, he goes, Europe, he was speaking in Europe, so he says, Europe, we have 20 times the economy of Russia, 20 times. He says, they're 2 trillion, we're over 40 trillion, and they're producing 4 times more ammunition than us. And what happened, ours is just, the company, so if you have a company, start making that stuff, the profit margins are great. And there's definitely going to be a demand going forward with every single country in the world raising their spending on military. Germany is a big one. Germany, there's a really big article in Der Spiegel. It's a good paper. It's a very, very long-winded, full articles a lot of times. A lot of people, you may not agree with what they're saying, but they have a lot of details. I like the paper for that. They had a big investigative report how German soldiers were training with broomsticks, literally broomsticks, because they didn't even have the fake guns, or you know what I mean, weapons to work with. So they were running around going bang, 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 bang. That's literally what they did. They didn't have enough money to do that. And hey, everyone was okay with it because what happens when the Germans arm, right? It's happened a couple times. We don't want the charm. 1 more minute. 1 minute starting. So it was a very alarming speech. I really recommend you YouTube this one. Chatham House, Mark Rutte, Rutte, Rutte. He's like the king of the Stoics. He's an excellent choice for NATO leader. Very hard worker, gregarious, but set in his ways kind of person, you know. So you check that out, and it'll alarm you. You're like, wow, you know, the way things are going, it's not very. The biggest navy in the world isn't America. Yeah. And like I said, we're not having problems with all these countries, but Iran's sending the Shiad drones over against Ukraine. So there's been sides have been chosen. Iran, consequently, Trump said there may be a possible deal with Iran. There's a possibility of a deal. Kotkins is a good. Listen to about that. He's by far the most. I believe right now, the mind of our times. About there's others. There's other McMaster and a bunch of other people that are good places to get your information from. They're long format, you know, from the university. But this guy Kotkins, he's like the brain's brain, right? And he's funny. He's actually really funny. He spent decades doing he's like the guru of Stalin and Russia. He went there back when you couldn't, and so he has that experience behind him. But now going forward, I listen to him all the time. He just came out with the other day. There's another, well, not him, but someone else. A superstition. Look up. Do we want to see the House of Commons? A suggestion. Oh, look up. We do want to see the House of Commons. Oh, look up. Good for you. It's not starting. Oh, maybe it's starting now. That's 2 suggestions, by the way. Alrighty then. If you got nothing nice to say. Oh, it still has not. Oh, it is. What is it going on? Yeah, so not yet. Should be starting. Oh, here we go. So they went late into the night last night. I have an issue here. We got there's a timing issue with this. It hasn't started. It should, but this is last night. So 2200. So 10:30. It went till 10:30 last night as they were discussing this fiscal year ending in March, and it's like I said, it's starting later today. There we go. Yeah. So let me. Yeah, yesterday it seemed very, very uppity. It's starting to to raise the tone. The second week of Parliament coming back. So here, I'm going to try to get the timing here. Oh, mayday, mayday. Okay, here we go. Canada, we stand on guard. All the pages. Ah, the pages. Hooray, the page. Hooray, the Pirates. Hurrah, hurrah.
Let the doors be open.
Let the doors be open. There it is. So let the games begin.
Statements by members, déclaration de députés. The honourable member for Yukon.
Okay, get excited.
Today I rise to honour the exceptional achievements of all Yukon graduates from across the country. Félicitations à vous. Vous avez travaillé.
Congratulations, you worked incredibly hard and met all challenges with brio.
You've shown determination and readiness to contribute to our territory and to our nation. Your academic journey reflects not only your perseverance, but also the collective commitment of Yukon educators, families, and communities who invest in your future. Il faut vraiment tout un village.
You really deserve our admiration.
Starting a new job, traveling the world, or pursuing something completely new, you are shaping the Yukon's future. Let's celebrate your achievements and all the possibilities ahead. Congratulations to all of you, Yukon grads.
The honourable member for Edmonton-Griesbach.
Mr. Speaker, I was Conservative MP in Edmonton-Griesbach from 2015 to 2021. Our team narrowly lost the 21 election, but we won big in 2025, and it's great to be back.
Hear, hear.
Politics is a team sport, and I'm grateful for all the people who helped us win. The nomination campaign itself took tremendous work. My team and I knocked on doors 7 days a week for a year and a half. Thanks to some of these nomination team members in no particular order. Thank you, Paul Curry, Bert Shopey, Carol Kozlikar, Stella McNeil, Cheryl McCracken, Daphne Price, Heather Markland, and Leo Wong. Thank you, Rhoda Lepashik, Beanad Sabat, Jason Steele,
McCracken,
Justin Thomas, Elizabeth Talbot-Jones, Hong Wu, and Patrick Stewart. Thanks to everyone who helped us win the main campaign. Thanks to my wife, Claire Denman, who always works on my campaigns. And a huge thanks to Edmonton Griesbach.
The honourable member for Rivière-des-Mille-Îles. Mr. Speaker, I recently had the pleasure of participating in the Saint-Eustache Kiwanis 785 Squadron ceremony and the Excel Gym Zodiac Cheerleading Club end-of-year show. What I admire about the cadets is the teaching of leadership, civic duty, respect, and discipline. Congratulations to the cadets and volunteers. I really enjoyed your ceremony. The Excel Gym is celebrating its 40th anniversary this year with more than 1,100 athletes aged 4 to 18. It was a very colorful show. Well done. To both organizations, thank you for your invitation. Congratulations to the volunteers whose dedication makes these events possible. Whether it's cadets, gymnastics, or other sports, these activities help children grow. A big shout out to the parents for supporting their children in these different disciplines. Thank you.
The honourable member for Simcoe Grey.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the great people of Simcoe Grey for again putting their trust in me to be their voice here in Ottawa. To my campaign team, thank you so much for your hard work and dedication. With special thanks to Dwayne McNabb, my campaign manager, and Karen Gregg, my financial agent, who both filled such critical roles. Springtime is a busy time in Simcoe Grey with so many great events taking place. First, congratulations to all the 2025 high school graduates. To the Georgian Triangle Humane Society, I will see you this weekend at your Walk for Pets. On June 21st, I will be celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Everett Legion. And later that night, I will attend a banquet in honor of the 1909 Collingwood Military Police Cadet Corps' 25th anniversary. And on June 28th, I will be part of the Blue Mountain Foundation's for the Arts' 50th anniversary celebration. And in July, Mr. Speaker, I will be hosting the grand opening of my new Angus constituency office. Everyone here is welcome, even you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Hamilton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to shine a light on a team that holds a special place in my riding Hamilton Centre, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Formed in 1869, the Tiger Cats are one of North America's oldest sports teams, bringing home 15 Grey Cup championships and countless memories for Hamiltonians. Born in the shadows of Hamilton's two steel giants, DeFosco and Stelco, the Tiger Cats have battled on the same turf for nearly a century, on a field that echoes with the pride of Hamilton's working class. More than a football team, the Tiger Cats embody the toughness and resilience that define our city. This Saturday, June 14th, the Hamilton Tiger Cats kick off their season against the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. I wish them a fantastic season, and I'm proud to see the legacy of this great team and great city carry on. Go Tigers, go. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Stadium is awesome. It's surrounded by, like, in a suburbia type area, beautiful area for that, because the fans are all around. It's actually one of the best places. It really gives you the feel of the working class in that area.
Just riding
Recommend
in
you check it
Canada,
out.
and summer in CKL is a special experience. Whether camping or boating on Lake St. Clair and Mitchell's Bay, or frequenting the beaches or birdwatching in Point Pelee National Park, or many other locations, Canada's South is truly inspiring. But one thing I heard at the doors during the election was that the beauty of my riding cannot mask the fact that parents are struggling to feed their families. They know that pretty beaches or pretty speeches cannot feed their kids. My constituents know both families and businesses have to manage their budgets, and they expect their government to do the same. They want to know how this government will pay for all of its massive spending promises and how it will affect their bottom line. Will the Liberals commit to transparency, and will they deliver a spring budget?
The honourable member for St. Catharines.
Mr. Speaker, in 1957, the Allenberg Women's Institute asked the Ontario government to establish a university in Niagara, recognizing the immense value that a local university could provide to our youth and community. Our community's conviction was so deep that members of the CAW Local 199 in Niagara made weekly contributions from their hard-earned paychecks to support the founding of what would become Brock University in 1964. They understood then what we continue to recognize today, that post-secondary institutions are cornerstones of building communities, economic growth, and supporting the development of a vibrant arts and cultural sector. With over 100,000 graduates, a commitment to industry-driven research, and economic programs designed to meet the needs of today's and tomorrow's workforce, Brock University continues to fulfill the vision of its early champions. Mr. Speaker, I extend my heartfelt congratulations to Brock University, its students, faculty, staff, and alumni as they celebrate their 60th anniversary. Congratulations.
The honourable member for Skeena-Bulkley Valley.
On June 11, 2008, Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper apologized to Indigenous people for Canada's past role in the residential school system. Residential schools were a component of a system that created the issues that we're still trying to resolve today. I spent years reading Heisel archives on how First Nations were treated and excluded conditionally from Canada's society and economy. I fully acknowledge our past. It is one of the biggest reasons why I strive to build a better future for Canada overall. This is what I believe reconciliation should represent, and we're closer than ever before, with First Nations charting their own destinies, and as individuals from all walks of life are presented with opportunities to build their own lives. In short, reconciliation should mean bringing back two groups together. As a newly elected Conservative MP for Skeena-Bulkley Valley, I want to thank the Conservatives for starting this new path of reconciliation 17 years ago. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Beauharnois, Salaberry, Soulanges, Huntingdon. Quebec has lost a great activist for Quebec independence, the French language, workers' right, and secularism. Henri Laberge passed away on May 2nd. On behalf of the Bloc, I'd like to offer my sincere condolences to his family and loved ones. He was involved in every battle, from the Rally for National Independence to the Bloc Québécois, where he served as chair of the Citizenship Committee. Staunch champion of the French language, he was chief of staff to Camille Lorrain during the drafting of Bill 101. Close to the working class, alongside Michel Charton and Fernand Daou, he was advisor to the Centrale de l'Enseignement du Québec. His 30 years of involvement in the Quebec secular movement helped modernize Quebec society. Henri Laberge, thank you so much for giving so much in your quest for an independent Quebec, proud of its values, but also more humane. On the strength of your legacy, we will keep up the fight. Thank you, Henri.
The honourable member for Sydney Glace Bay.
Mr. Speaker, today, June 11th, we observe Davis Day, a solemn occasion of remembrance and reflection in Nova Scotia. This year marks the 100th anniversary of Davis Day, making it an especially significant moment to honor the sacrifices of coal miners who lost their lives in the struggle for safer working conditions and fairer treatment. Davis Day commemorates the tragic death of William Davis, a miner who was killed during a 1925 strike while advocating for workers' rights and safety in Cape Breton Island. His courage and that of countless others, Mr. Speaker, laid the foundation for stronger labor protections that continue to support workers throughout Nova Scotia and across this great country. As we mark this important centennial, let us remember the courage and resilience of those who stood up for justice and dignity in the workplace. Their sacrifice is a powerful reminder of the importance of solidarity and our ongoing commitment to safe labor practices across this country.
Bravo. The honourable member for Calgary McKnight.
Just yesterday, the Auditor General confirmed this Liberal government cannot be trusted to deliver on housing. They promised to convert empty federal offices into 4,000 units of affordable housing, but have only managed to complete about 300 units so far. That's a total failure. And it turns out that almost half the units are being built in areas that do not even need them. Now, after 7 years and $300 million spent, the former housing minister got promotions, while housing has become even more unaffordable. Canadians need less broken promises and more homes built. The Conservative housing plan would quickly sell federal properties close to transit stations and jobs to get affordable homes built faster for Canadians in communities that need them. Thank you.
Honourable member for Fleetwood, Port Kells.
Mr. Speaker, today I rise for the very first time to thank the people of Fleetwood, Port Kells and Canada for placing their trust in me. I came to Canada in 1970 as an immigrant from a small village in Punjab. With $8 in my pocket, I worked as a lumber piler, pursued my education, and supported my family with determination and journey that led me to 14 years as a counselor in Williams Lake. Canada gave me the opportunity to work hard, give back, and now I stand proudly in the House of Commons to represent my community. Mr. Speaker, I'm humbled to be here, not only as a member of Parliament, but as a proof that Canadian dream is alive and well. I want to express not...
The honourable member for Windsor-Tecumseh Lakeshore.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, time after time, the Liberal government must be held to account for their mismanagement of Canadian dollars. Now we have even more damning evidence showing that the Liberals have lost control over their spending on consultants. GC Strategies, which is linked to the Arrive scam, got 106 contracts worth $93 million. The Auditor General has said that Liberals frequently disregarded procurement rules that promoted fairness, transparency, and value for Canadians. Consultants who didn't have experience, massive security clearances, and failures. Proof that little to no work was ever done. It is clear that the Liberals are out of touch with Canadians. They cannot be trusted with tax dollars, so how can anyone trust them to be in a position of power? Will the Liberals support a Conservative motion to have GC Strategies pay back the $64 million stolen from taxpayers?
The honourable member for Ottawa, Vanier-Gloucester.
With deep sadness and a heavy heart that I rise in the House today to mark the passing of a dear friend, A.J. Plante. A respected entrepreneur and realtor, a community builder, a generous mentor, and a tireless force for good in the National Capital Region. A.J. serviteur de...
In the service of God, A.J. dedicated his life to lifting others up, supporting local food banks and charities, helping families find homes, and always being there for his community. A big hockey fan, he was both coach and proud owner of the Gatineau Flames, providing countless young athletes with opportunities to grow and succeed.
De réussir. Alongside his wife Chantal, AJ gave back in countless ways, most recently through the ongoing support of organizations like the Eastern Ottawa Resource Centre.
To Chantal, their children, and all those who knew and loved him, I offer my deepest sympathies.
Ottawa is better because of AJ. May he rest in peace.
The honourable member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General's investigation into the Liberals' purchase of the F-35 fighter jets is deeply concerning. Costs have ballooned by more than 50% and delivery is behind schedule, but it gets worse. The facilities to house the jets will not be completed until 2031. That is 3 years too late, and taxpayers will be left spending even more money on temporary hangars. The investigation also confirmed that we do not have enough pilots. How does this Liberal government expect the planes to fly without pilots? In fact, Mr. Speaker, the Liberals have flip-flopped. First, they opposed the F-35 program, then they supported it, then they sent it to review, and so on. After the lost Liberal decades, Canadians are feeling anxious in an increasingly dangerous world. Out-of-control costs, repeated construction delays, and lack of staff threaten to delay the replacement of the fighter jets. Now the Liberals want billions of dollars to waste. This government promised change, but it is more of the same. Under these Liberals, Canadians have never paid so much for getting so little in return, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Burlington.
I rise in the House to celebrate the Honourable Irwin Cotler, who's in Ottawa to be honoured by the Pearson Centre tonight for his lifetime of service to Canada and his work on human rights and justice.
I guess he's in the room, maybe. Very, very happy about that.
Parliament and Cabinet Minister, an emeritus professor of law at McGill, and an international human rights lawyer, and I'm very proud to call him a friend. As Minister of Justice and Attorney General, Irwin enacted same-sex marriage equality laws, appointed 2 women to the Supreme Court, tackled wrongful convictions, and launched anti-racism initiatives. In his so-called retirement, he founded and now actively chairs the Raoul Wallenberg Center for Human Rights, which advocates for political prisoners, human rights, justice, and democracy. He also served as Canada's first special envoy on combating anti-Semitism. Irwin is today, as he has always been, a powerful advocate for the marginalized and a champion of progress and justice. I speak for all Canadians when I say thank you for your incredible and ongoing service, Mr. Cotler.
Oral questions, questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Okay, just a quick thing. We got Andrew Scheer is up. So Andrew Scheer hasn't been the leader. He is the intern leader, but he hasn't been the first questioner in question period. He's let others take that thing. So today I think he'll be a little bit more, because he's had a couple days to build up, and we'll see how it's going to go. I don't think I see Carney in the room. I've been looking. I don't think I see him there, but it's possible he just arrived in the last minute. But let's see. Check out Andrew Scheer and his question of the day.
Conservatives will force a vote here in the House of Commons to get Canadians their money back for the Arrive Can scandal. The Auditor General slammed the Liberal government for giving GC Strategies, the top Arrive scam contractor, $64 million in contracts since they took office. $64 million to a 2-person IT company that did no IT work and is under RCMP investigation. Instead of empty words like, we accept the Auditor General's findings, how about the Prime Minister show some concrete action, vote for our motion, and get Canadians their money back?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
I don't
this
think they're going to do
government
it.
is focused on best-in-class procurement. That is why we're put in place a new Department of Government Transformation. That is why we're putting in place a new Department of Defense Procurement to get taxpayer value for money, to build the strongest economy in the G7. That is how we'll get value for Canadians.
Yeah, you after you do a contract, to say getting money back from a company is impossible.
Liberal habits of not being bothered by wasting taxpayers' money and funneling it to his friends.
Right.
And Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister's trying to act like he's new to the job or he just got here. He was Justin Trudeau's senior economic advisor while these contracts were being handed out. And the Minister of Trade with the U.S., the Minister for Jobs, and the Minister of Foreign Affairs all have their fingerprints on this scandal, and he chose them to sit around his cabinet table. Why is it every time Liberals get caught in a corruption scandal, Liberal politicians get rewarded and taxpayers get the bill?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as I just said, this government is laser focused on best-in-class procurement. That is why we have a new Minister of Government Transformation. That is why we have a brave deputy who fought for this country, who flew fighter jets, who is the new Secretary of State for Defense Procurement. We're going to get best value for Canadians' dollars. We're going to grow this economy. Come join us.
The Honourable Member for Chilliwack, Hope.
Auditor General confirmed what we've been saying about the fraudsters behind the Arrive Scam app and the failure of this Liberal government to protect taxpayers. GC Strategies was an IT firm that didn't do IT, didn't follow procurement rules, didn't provide value for money, didn't have valid security clearances. What they do have is 64 million ill-gotten tax dollars in the bank, and this Liberal government let it all happen. When so many Canadians are struggling to make ends meet, why is this government making no effort to get those wasted tax dollars back?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I think it's important to follow details, including important details such as there was just an election. Canada's new government was elected to focus on getting best value for Canadian taxpayer dollars and building the strongest economy in the G7. That's exactly what we're doing. We're focused on it.
The Honourable Member for Chilliwack, Hope.
They're not holding GC Strategies accountable. They're letting them keep the cash. The Auditor General confirmed that current Liberal ministers failed Canadians in this matter. They failed to protect tax dollars. They failed to check the qualifications of those doing the work. In half the contracts, they failed to even verify that work was done. Unbelievably, the Trudeau ministers responsible for Arrive Scam got promoted and have now been put in charge of critical Canada-US foreign affairs and jobs files. Why did the Prime Minister reward these failed Trudeau Liberals instead of holding them accountable for their incompetence?
Mr. Speaker, this government, Canada's new government, is focused on best value for taxpayers' dollars. We are running a process to review our program. We are running a process to focus on results for Canadians, not dollars in. We are running a process to integrate technology. We are running a process to get best value for the largest increase in defense spending in precedent, making up for the failures of the members opposite.
Well done.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable-Lotbinière. Well, thanks to a Conservative motion, the Auditor General has shed some light on the ArriveCan scandal, and what she found is, well, it's not great, Mr. Speaker. GC Strategies, a company, two people in a basement that doesn't know anything about IT, got $64 million for doing nothing. The report doesn't know who did the work, doesn't know what was done, doesn't know if the people who did anything were even qualified to do it. Conservatives are going to go further now. We're tabling a motion calling on Canadians to be reimbursed. Mr. Speaker, will the Prime Minister vote for our motion to reimburse Canadians? after the incompetence of his ministers? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, Canada's new government is going to focus on best-in-class procurement. That's why we have a new Minister of Government Transformation, a new department for procurement for defence. And we are seeing the biggest increase in defence spending to defend our country in our history. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-L'Érable-Lobinière. He says that he's new, and maybe he doesn't know this, but listen, I'll say it quietly between him and me. The ministers who authorized this spending are members of his cabinet. They weren't banned, as the government transformation minister said yesterday. They were promoted, and that's the truth, Mr. Speaker. This House has already called for the reimbursement of the money paid to GC Strategies, but unfortunately, we still haven't seen that money come back. We're talking about $64 million. That comes from taxes paid by Canadians. The Liberal government abused Canadians' trust. Our motion is clear. Will the Prime Minister vote to protect his ministers, or will he vote for Canadians to be paid back? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I will be focused every day, every hour, on best-in-class procurement for Canadians. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Yesterday, the member for Mirabel asked the Minister of Finance if, and I quote, the carbon tax rebate checks, which were sent in the middle of the election to 8 provinces, were paid out without the tax having been collected. The minister replied, no. Mr. Speaker, my question to the Prime Minister: were the carbon tax rebate checks that were sent out during the election paid out without the tax that would have funded them having been collected? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the last carbon tax rebate was paid out for a transition period for millions of Canadian families. Okay? We decided, and all members agree, that the carbon tax, the consumer carbon tax, should be cancelled. There are many families outside of Quebec and outside of British Columbia who needed that for a transition period. That's the reason. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Votes in the House of Commons decide what we agree with or don't, Mr. Speaker. During the election campaign, this was a bit under the radar, but not now, and it's becoming important in Quebec. The truth is that the government, by refusing to pay back Quebecers, is paying back the carbon tax to those who didn't pay it, and it's not paying it back to those who are paying for it. The Prime Minister is better than that in economics and in accounting, so will he pay back Quebecers? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, the provinces and Quebec had the choice to impose their own system for carbon pricing. Mr. Speaker, I and we respect the jurisdiction of Quebec. The member for Belleuil-Chambly. Well, we could make a plaque with that statement there, Mr. Speaker. In summary, the Prime Minister cancelled the carbon tax. He sent $4 billion out to Canadians, but nothing to Quebecers. And that was to pay back a tax that they didn't pay. Those $4 billion are not linked to any revenue, which would justify that money being paid back. So those $4 billion going directly into the deficit, like the $6 billion in tax cuts, without a budget, without an economic update. Will the Prime Minister fix this obvious injustice against the people of Quebec? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, there are different systems. There are different transitions. It's not unjust, it's coherent.
The Honourable Member for Airdrie-Cochrane.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Auditor General released a scathing report about the Liberal government's mismanagement of the F-35 contract. They flipped, they flopped, and then they flipped again. And now they're trying to hide the real costs of their incompetence. How can the men and women of the armed forces trust that the Prime Minister will actually deliver on his defence promises when it's clear that his own ministers are willing to mislead Canadians when it comes to defence?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We thank the Auditor General once again for her work. In any procurement project of this size, as this member knows, it's normal for costs to change and vary over time, especially with the challenges encountered during the pandemic, like supply chain disruptions, Mr. Speaker, and inflation. And that's why National Defence is working hand in hand with industry now to make sure we get good value for Canadians. Mr. Speaker, we're making a generational investment in the Air Force, and we're going to get this right.
Honourable Member for Airdrie Cochrane.
This was anything but normal. This is them trying to hide their own incompetence. They misled Canadians by not factoring in currency exchanges, inflation, and project delays to pretend that they were saving costs, when in fact the F-35s were 50% over budget because of their incompetence. And worse yet, Trudeau's minister responsible for this creative accounting was promoted by the current Prime Minister. Isn't it true that the Liberals' so-called new defence spending is actually just the cost they were hiding from Canadians all along?
The Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, once again, I'm going to thank the Auditor General for her work and her recommendations, many of which we're acting upon already. National Defence is committed to being open and transparent, and it will keep Canadians updated every step of the way without compromising operational security. National Defence is keeping a close eye on costs and working hand in hand with industry to make sure we get the best value for Canadians. Mr. Speaker, we're focused here, focused on supporting our top Canadian aviators as they work to keep Canada safe.
The Honourable Member for Portage Lisgar.
The Auditor General confirmed what Canadians already knew. The Liberals can't run a lemonade stand, let alone the government. They funneled tens of millions of dollars to their friends at GC Strategies, with nearly half of the contracts delivering little to no results. Their federal lands housing initiative, well, after 7 years, they haven't even delivered 8% of what they promised they would. The F-35 program, it's 50% over budget and plagued with construction delays and staffing shortages. So here's a simple question. Why is it that Liberals can never deliver any project on time or on budget?
Here. The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to be clear, we will always protect the integrity of our procurement process. We've been elected on a mandate to deliver best value for Canadians as we embark on an ambitious journey for this country. I'm hoping Conservatives will get on board. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Vaughan Woodbridge.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday the Auditor General revealed that Canadians are paying more and getting less. The Liberals have poured $300 million into a housing program and missed their targets by 97%. And the F-35 jets, nearly $30 billion, 50% over budget. Wow. No jets flying, no pilots ready, and no facilities built. To top it off, the fraudulent Arrive scam contractor GC Strategies has siphoned $64 million from Canadian taxpayers. If Liberals can't be trusted to manage any of these projects, how can Canadians trust them to balance a budget?
The Honourable Minister of Government Transformation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and let me be absolutely clear. We will never tolerate misconduct from our suppliers or their subcontractors. We will always hold bad actors to account so that we deliver the best value for Canadians. This is exactly what we are doing for Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Cambridge.
Mr. Speaker, the Auditor General reconfirmed what we already know. The Liberals are bad with Canadians' money. On housing, they promised to build 4,000 units in 6 years, but the real number, a pathetic 309. And the F-35 budget has exploded by $14 billion, and there's no pilots to fly them. Worst of all, the Liberals funneled $64 million to Arrive scam contractors, just two guys working from their basement, with no proof they did any real work. Same Trudeau ministers, same failures, same old Liberals. Why did this Prime Minister promote the very ministers responsible for these scandals into his cabinet?
The Honourable Minister for Government Transformation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank the Auditor General for her work. I had a very good conversation with her concerning workspaces, particularly what was in her report yesterday, and I would note that she specifies that we are on track to meet our goals for affordable housing on federal lands. It's good news for Canadians. The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Lefjord. Mr. Speaker, the Liberals aren't capable of looking ahead. They are indifferent to heavy spending. After 10 years of unexpected and avoidable delays, it's now really quite possible that Canada won't have any operational fighter jets. We know that our F-18s will come to the end of their lives in 2032, and we still don't know when the F-35s will be delivered. How is it that the Liberals can spend without ever delivering the goods? The Honourable Minister of National Defence. Mr. Speaker, we once again thank the Auditor General for her work. In a procurement process like this, it's normal that costs change over time, particularly with all the challenges that we have faced with the pandemic, inflation, and the member is aware of that. National Defence is keeping a close eye on costs and is working hand in hand with industry to make sure that Canadians will get their money's worth. We are making the biggest investments in over 30 years in the Royal Canadian Air Force. The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Lefjord. Mr. Speaker, our industry, our businesses, and our workers in Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean are suffering from the American tariffs on steel and aluminum, which are now at 50%. Hundreds of jobs in Saguenay are threatened, and yet I'll remind you that the Prime Minister was elected, promising Canadians that he would be elbows up to Mr. Trump. He was supposed to bring in $20 billion in counter tariffs. But now we've learned that China has signed an agreement with the Americans. How is it that China has an agreement before Canada? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm obviously very aware of the situation, and the Prime Minister and Cabinet are aware of the situation, that there are tariffs that have been imposed. They're illegal, unjustified, and unacceptable, these 50% tariffs against the aluminum workers in my colleague's riding, and against steel workers in the ridings of many colleagues here, and that is why we are putting in place very strong counter-tariffs and countermeasures. We are also in contact with industry, with the unions, and we will continue to fight to get those tariffs taken off. The Honourable Member for Mirabel. Mr. Speaker, 6 days before the election, the Prime Minister handed out checks paid for by Quebecers to almost everyone in Canada except Quebecers. The National Assembly of Quebec is unanimous. The Liberals need to pay us back. Quebecers, who are also having a hard time with the cost of living crisis, shouldn't be giving fake carbon rebate gifts of $450 to families in Alberta or $300 to Ontarians. The Liberals owe us $814 million. If not, it's theft. Are they going to keep stealing, or are they going to pay us back? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Identity and Culture. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And the Bloc Québécois colleague knows that I hold him in high regard, but I think he's going a little bit too far today, as he knows very well. Quebec's system is very different from the federal system. Right now, the cost per ton is $59 in Quebec, while it was $85 in Canada. For years, Quebecers paid half of what the rest of Canadians paid in carbon prices. We never hear that from the Bloc, Mr. Speaker.
Haven't seen that guy in a while. See how this goes.
That Canadians paid $0 in any carbon taxes when they got their checks. The Prime Minister himself has confirmed that he cut the carbon tax on April 1st, but he still sent out the quarterly check for April to June at the end of the month. So if the check wasn't paid for with the carbon tax, well, who paid for it? Well, the Liberal Party has called this a fiscal bridge. We call that a gift to Canadians paid for out of the pockets of Quebecers. Will the Liberals pay back the $814 million that they owe to Quebec? The Honourable Minister of Canadian Identity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I sincerely think we're comparing apples with oranges here. Quebec's system works on a cap and trade system. It's not a pricing system, while the federal system was a pricing system that set a price per ton, and that's how the signal was sent to the market and to consumers to reduce their emissions. They're two systems that were completely different. The federal government recognized Quebec's leadership in this area, and we recognize that Quebec's system was equivalent to the federal system for a number of years, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Foothills.
Minister said, "I will be judged by prices at the grocery store shelf." Well, judgment has been rendered, and by his own metrics, the Prime Minister has failed. For the third month in a row, food prices have skyrocketed. Apples, oranges, rice, chicken, beef, all up by more than 20%. And the Prime Minister's response is to pour more fuel on the inflationary fire with $500 billion in new spending. That's more than Trudeau. Will this Liberal minority government listen to the majority of this House, put a budget on that table so Canadians could put food on theirs?
Right on.
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
I mean, first of all, Mr. Speaker, I just want to say that over 22 million Canadians are receiving a tax credit as we speak, and I certainly hope that the Conservative member over there realizes this is exactly what Canadians called for in the election, targeted support that will help them in these times. I will also point out, Mr. Speaker, that the kind of spending they're talking about are the things that they've been advocating for years. They should be happy that we're investing in our armed forces. For example, Mr. Speaker, are they saying that Canadian armed forces don't deserve a raise?
The Honourable Member for Foothills.
Canadians are struggling to put food on the table now, and it's because of the Liberals' inflationary spending. Now, we all knew that these were going to be the same old tax and spend Liberals, but we had no idea this Prime Minister was going to be worse. He promised Canadians he would cap increased spending at 2%. He has gone over 8%. That is putting Canadians in trouble, and they are the ones paying the price. We now have the highest food inflation in the G7. Will this Prime Minister table a budget, end his inflationary spending, so Canadians can afford to feed their families?
Yes.
Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Mr. Speaker, every step of the way, as we've worked to make sure that Canadians' costs go down, that Canadians have more powerful paychecks, in fact, something that I think the Conservatives have said time and again, they've actually voted against, Mr. Speaker. Whether it's things like reducing the cost of childcare or ensuring school food programs or increasing Canada Child benefits, by the way, pegged to inflation so that families have what they need as they're raising their children, these Conservatives have voted against it. So they should put their money where their mouth is, Mr. Speaker, and support comprehensive policy that supports families.
The Honourable Member for Windsor West.
Mr. Speaker, after years of Liberal inflationary spending, Windsor families are struggling to keep up. Rent is unaffordable. Grocery prices are going through the roof. Many parents are skipping meals so their kids can eat. The Prime Minister says he wants to be judged by what Canadians pay at the grocery store. I can assure you that the Prime Minister will be judged harshly, as Canadians will be paying more than $800 this year. On food alone, Mr. Speaker, it shouldn't be this hard to feed your family in Canada. Will the Liberal government table a budget this spring that actually reverses its inflationary policies?
Hear, hear. The Honourable Secretary of State for Labour.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians elected a new government to build a strong Canada and to protect programs that serve families. Families are strong when kids are healthy. Our national school meal program is delivering meals to hundreds of thousands of kids this year. It saves parents up to $800 per year. We are committed to making this permanent. We made this commitment in the campaign, and I call on the member opposite to support us.
Honourable Member for Sudbury East, Manitoulin Nickel Belt.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister said he wants to be held to account for what Canadians are paying at the grocery store. So let's do just that. Families in Northern Ontario are struggling because of rising prices. Since the start of 2025, grocery prices in Canada have increased rapidly. The Prime Minister promised to cap government spending at 2%. Instead, he's increasing it by 8%. Will the Liberals table a budget that reverses their inflationary policies so Canadians can afford to put food on the table?
The Honourable Secretary of State for the Canada Revenue Agency and Financial Institutions.
Mr. Speaker, we just met with the owners of Canada in the last election and clearly laid out our plan to cut taxes, to build homes, protect Americans against terror, Canadians against tariffs. Mr. Speaker, elections are job interviews, and Canadians resoundingly hired our Prime Minister. They fired the former member from Carleton. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for
That one keeps going. I'm just going to pause for a second. I do like the owners of Canada thing when he's talking with the voters. I like that. It actually puts the politicians in their place, to be honest. Though it is just whatever it is, pandering. But that was a dig, and he's like, they voted for us, and they didn't vote for. I gotta, put that one in. It was a pretty dig. I don't know this new fella, but he seems to be their question period rhetorical guy of late. At least we'll see going forward. But he's got some spice in his answers, and you can tell he's really, what do they call it, poofy chesting. He's screaming, right? It's loud in there, right?
Mr. Speaker, Liberals clearly get excited when they're talking about their own jobs, but 500,000 unemployed students this summer are concerned about theirs. CBC is reporting that Canada faces the worst youth unemployment crisis in decades. Students need jobs to pay for their education and gain vital experience and skills. Liberal inflationary spending and immigration failures are creating a generational unemployment crisis, approaching 500,000 unemployed students. How many more young Canadians need to go unemployed before Liberals reverse course?
The Honourable Minister of Jobs and Family.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Listen, I've got great news for youth this summer. Over 6,000 more jobs through Canada Summer Jobs this summer. That's great news for all of our constituents. Mr. Speaker, Canada Summer Jobs is an important program to help young people get the skills and the experience they need for the next steps in their career. That's over 76,000 jobs this summer, and we certainly look forward to hearing about the youth's experience all across our country.
The Honourable Member for Sault Ste. Marie Algoma.
Speaker, members of Canada's buildings trades unions are here in Ottawa this week. They represent thousands and thousands of workers that are building Canada strong. Can the Secretary of State for Labour please update this House what this government is doing to support this very, very important construction workers and unionized labour across this great country? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Honourable Member for the Sioux for the question and join him in welcoming some of the most important unions and skilled trades to Ottawa today. These unions represent over 1 million good-paying jobs, and our One Canadian Economy plan will fast-track major projects so that we can build across this country brick by brick with good Canadian steel and aluminum. Mr. Speaker, it's time to build big, build bold, and build now. Canada's building trades will get it done, and this government will always have their backs.
The Honourable Member for Cloverdale, Langley City.
Yesterday, the AG delivered a damning report that exposed the truth. After 10 years of this Liberal government's housing promises, only 309 homes have been built under the Federal Lands Initiative. They set a target of 4,000, and what Canadians got was smoke and mirrors. Inflated numbers, misleading reporting, and government more focused on press releases than people. Can the minister explain how, after a decade of delays, this scandal has left single moms and young families still without a place to call home?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Those units remain under development. They will be developed. They will be built. Those homes will be delivered as promised. And, Mr. Speaker, we would appreciate the support from the other members of the House for all of these housing initiatives going forward, of which we have many. We have the most robust housing agenda in the history of this House. We expect robust support for that plan.
We do.
Oh, did you hear that? We do. Here, you got to hear that.
Initiatives going forward, of which we have many. We have the most robust housing agenda in the history of this House. We expect robust support for that plan.
The building they don't have the most robust in the history of the House. That was actually the highest level of support of any program was the wartime house plan, the wartime housing. Because basically they didn't build enough homes during the war, and there's all these new families that sprouted up, and that was the biggest problem. I'm glad Tamara's back. She had a little hiatus due to political. She had a hiatus. So then she's back. She's a good MP. I liked her in committees and stuff like that. She's had good questions and with a little bit of a dig, but there was also the substance to it. This question about housing, the Liberals, the file is actually like the housing is build starts are going down, the permits are going down. So they're going to have to spend a lot more into this. And until they do, I don't envy this housing minister's job because he's fighting. It's like he's fighting the river, right? And he's downstream. He has a very unenviable job, and I don't know how he's going to come up with some really good spin doctor things like magic. That's how good it has to be, because it's the biggest talking point that it's basically not working and they're spending a lot of money. They may in a year. There's $25 billion that's going to these prefab home builders. It's a possibility that one of the companies figures out how to make homes better, faster, cheaper, better, faster, and cheaper, and can mass produce them. It's going to be very difficult. I'm not thinking it's enough money, to be honest, for that to happen. But it could create an industry, a Canadian industry that could go worldwide, because every country has homes. Stick and batten, like, our type of homes, isn't necessarily done in other places. Europe especially, it's a little different. They build a little bit heavier. But having a lower cost home that lasts 60 years before it needs a reno 50 years, it's a North American thing, and we could mass produce them and sell them across the world if we have a system that makes them at a good price point. Okay, let's carry on with that. Thanks for watching.
Member for Cloverdale, Langley City.
According to yesterday's AG report, this government built nearly 40% of its so-called affordable homes in the wrong places. You can't make this up. And here's the truly shocking thing. They didn't base affordable on income, not on what people actually earn. Instead, they used current market rent in the middle of a housing crisis. That means low-income families, seniors, and newcomers can't even afford the homes that were supposed to help them. After 10 years of failure, will the minister admit that this plan has completely failed the people who need it most?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, I'll caution the member opposite. There are no wrong places to build housing in Canada.
Whoa, good point.
We are focused on building housing across this country. We are focused on building affordable housing across this country. The reason there are new ministers here, like myself, is for our new plan to deliver affordable housing all across Canada and communities that need it.
Excellent answer.
The Honourable Member for Kenora, Kiiwetinoong.
The Liberals
Okay, let us keep his eyes open here. That's the thing, and there is a wrong place to build homes when it's higher tax areas. You build around industrial parts of the city where the price is lower, where there's the work needed for those people, and not into the upper middle class areas. And that's exactly the case. By saying, well, there is no area, that's I'm sorry, it didn't work on me. Poundbury. I recommend you all Google Poundbury. It's from the King, Charles, of all people, who's trying to design a modern city of the future with thinking 50 years ahead. You have lower income housing in the downtown core. Wow. Like it doesn't take a genius, but apparently it does. You have so where the service sector, where the restaurants are concentrated, where the festivals, and where he put in Poundbury, the park where the festivals are, they're not spread out all across the city, no. It's in the downtown core where all the festival facilities are located, where the workers are of that, where the people that will attend the music festivals and whatever, most likely, and keeps it out of suburbia. Suburbia is a quiet, no man without a family's land. Perfect. My opinion, it's designing with thought and not just letting the commercial market follow. And there's nothing wrong with the commercial market, but you can't have them, I believe. We've done it for too long, allowed the commercial interest to design our cities, and we're not thinking enough about it. There's a town called Niagara-on-the-Lake, the neighbor right beside Niagara Falls, and they've designed their town. You can't build a McDonald's there without it being a specific design pattern, historical, and it makes the whole town beautiful, wonderful. It's a higher priced area. You don't build low-income homes there, except maybe in the downtown you have a little one building or two. But the town itself doesn't make sense to have it there, because rents will always go up. As soon as you stop government control, rents will skyrocket. So I think that she makes a valid point, and I think he missed the question, because proper planning is what's been lacking. In all cities across Canada, we've allowed the commercial interest to dictate what is what, right?
To sell surplus government properties to build 4,000 housing units by 2028. But a scathing report from the Auditor General has showed that after 5 years, they have only built 309 of those units, Mr. Speaker. Canadians are facing a housing crisis, and this government is sitting on 5.9 million square feet of space. So when will the Liberals finally fulfill their promise to Canadians and get more homes to the market?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Speaker. Well, we are going to deliver the homes that are put forward in that plan. We are also going to use lands across Canada to build more affordable housing. Our goal is to roll out more affordable housing than this country's ever seen before in these years ahead. And we expect the support of the members opposite. This is going to be a partnership across Canada on federal lands with our community partners. Thank you, Mr.
Excellent work.
The Honourable Member for Kenora-Kiiwetinu.
Mr. Speaker, TD Bank has cast doubt on those Liberal goals, saying that housing starts are actually going to decline next year rather than increase, as the minister would have us believe. But the Auditor General report also found that the Liberals are failing to meet targets, failing to collect relevant data, and failing to provide detailed, transparent reports. This is, on all accounts, a complete failure, Mr. Speaker. Even their own Liberal member from Ottawa Centre has said that the government is not doing enough on housing, yet all of the ministers that are responsible for this crisis are still in cabinet. Why?
The Honourable Minister of Housing and Infrastructure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are focused now in this new government on delivering housing.
That's right.
We are going to deliver the housing that Canadians elected us to deliver. We ran on the commitment to have the most aggressive housing plan that the country's ever seen, and we are going to deliver on that plan, Mr. Speaker.
We sure are. Good answer.
The Honourable Member for Montmorency-Charlevoix. Mr. Speaker, in 2018, the government announced that it would build 4,000 affordable housing units by converting federal land and buildings. 309 units have been delivered since. That's less than 50 a year. Our local cooperative has started a new affordable housing project to help companies to attract and house workers. 24 housing units in Charlevoix in 1 year, 50 in Canada as a whole. Is the government better at building bureaucracy than houses? The Honourable Minister for Government Transformation. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I had a very good discussion with the Auditor General. We accept her recommendations. She clearly says in the report that we are on track to meeting our affordable housing goals. I would like to commend the Honourable Member for his election, but when his leader was Housing Minister, only 6 units were built, and that was after 10 decades upon decades of Conservative disengagement from housing. So we have nothing to learn from the Conservatives when it comes to housing, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Kamloops, Thompson, Nicola.
1,000 pounds. The amount of cocaine that was seized by Peel Police, according to media reports just yesterday. This public safety minister previously said that the bail system was sound, and yet 6 of the 9 of those arrested are already on bail. Given what we see and hear when it comes to bail, does this public safety minister still think that the bail system is sound?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, let me first of all thank the work of Peel Regional Police and also acknowledge the incredible work of the Chief of Police for the City of Toronto, who's in Ottawa today. Chief Demkew is an incredible leader who has been working in the front lines along with members of Peel and across law enforcement across Canada to ensure that drugs are off our streets. And this is a moment for us to ensure that we support them and we continue to acknowledge the incredible work of our police services.
The honourable member for Markham Unionville.
Mr. Speaker, Peel Region had the single largest drug bust in their history yesterday, with 1,000 pounds of cocaine worth $47 million. This would be a cause for celebration if 6 out of the 9 that were arrested are not already out on bail. Liberal laws like the Bills C5 and C75 are the root cause of this madness. These liberal laws put repeat criminals back into our communities. Mr. Speaker, will the Liberals reverse their soft on crime policies to keep criminals behind bars?
The Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, once again, I think it's important to recognize the incredible collaboration of the Peel Regional Police as well as other police services in having one of the greatest drug busts in Canadian history. Their work will continue. It will continue with the support of the federal government, with our agencies who are working in tandem to ensure that drugs are off our streets.
The honourable member for Brampton West.
Mr. Speaker, under this Liberal government, crime is at its peak and cities like Brampton are being hit hard. The Peel Police had the single largest drug bust in their history, but 6 out of 9 drug dealers are out on bail. Gun crime is up 116%. Gang homicide is up 78%. The only solution to control the crime wave is to repeal soft on crime, liberal laws C5 and C75 and put repeat violent offenders in jail. Will this Prime Minister reverse liberal soft on crime laws so drug dealers like this get jail, not bail?
That's right. Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, I think it's important to acknowledge the work of Peel Regional Police as well as their colleagues in different police services who work together to ensure that drugs are off our streets. This matter is going through the courts, and I know that our justice system is strong. We will ensure that there will be continued work, collaborative work within police services so that we can actually constructively get drugs off our streets.
The honourable member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Mr. Speaker, today, the Journal de Montréal lets us know that there has been an average increase of more than 28% in crimes against persons. Even worse, more than 20% of these crimes are domestic in nature. For the last 10 years, the Liberals have lost control. Mr. Speaker, this Liberal government must act very quickly to protect the lives of Canadians. When will the Liberals take the necessary measures to punish crime and finally protect victims?
State for combating crime.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This new government is focused on making sure that victims are put first. Previously, bail reform had been brought in to make it harder for perpetrators of domestic violence to be released. We're going to continue doing the important work that's needed to make laws stricter and make sure that bail is tougher to get. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Prescott Russell Cumberland.
Merci, Monsieur.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Canadian Economic Unity Act will remove federal barriers to international trade and labour mobility and advance the completion of projects of national interest that are essential to stimulating our country's productivity growth, developing its energy sector and ensuring its security. Can the Minister responsible for Industry tell us more about the bill that was tabled last week? The Honourable Minister for Industry. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to thank my colleague for her question and for having been elected. Canadians elected us with a clear mandate to be bold and to be ambitious. That includes the important step of building the strongest G7 economy, and that is a reason for which we have moved forward with this very important bill to build one Canadian economy, rather than having 13 different economies. So I hope that opposition parties will answer the call of Canadians and allow us to accelerate the adoption of this bill in the national interest.
Honourable Member for Long Range Mountain.
Mr. Speaker, the oil and gas industry is critical to Newfoundland and Labrador, making up 25% of our GDP and 41% of our exports. Our province has targets to double oil and gas production and create thousands of good-paying jobs. But energy companies have made it clear they won't invest while the Liberals' No New Pipelines Law, Bill C-69, the oil and gas production cap, and the punishing industrial carbon tax remain on the books. Does the Prime Minister not realize no one will build a pipeline under his anti-energy laws? Or is that the plan, to keep Canadian oil and gas in the ground?
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, as the honourable member knows, we presented the One Canadian Economy Bill to rapidly advance projects of national interest and build one Canadian economy, not 13. This bill will grow the economy and support our sovereignty to ensure we build the strongest economy in the G7. Canada's new government will work with provinces, territories, and Indigenous partners and get projects built so Canada will be an energy superpower.
The Honourable Member for Edmonton Southeast.
10 years of Liberal anti-energy laws have stopped pipelines of getting built. Energy companies won't build unless those Liberal laws are gone. To build pipelines, the Liberals need to repeal the suite of anti-energy laws. C-69, no new pipeline law. C-48, the shipping ban, the job-killing oil and gas production cap, and the laws like industrial carbon tax. Is that the Prime Minister's plan to keep our oil and gas in the ground?
The Honourable Minister of Energy and Natural Resources.
Canada's new government will get projects built, create high-paying jobs, and bring prosperity to Canadians. That's why we presented the One Canadian Economy Bill, which will rapidly advance projects of national interest. If my Conservative colleagues want to get projects built, they should support the bill.
Yes. Good answer. The Honourable Member for Cowichan, Malahat, Langford.
Mr. Speaker, BC Ferries just announced that they will purchase 4 new full-sized ferries from a Chinese state-owned company rather than from a proven Canadian shipbuilder such as Seaspan in North Vancouver. Yet the Liberals are set to hand over $30 million to BC Ferries, while BC Ferries hands over critical jobs, investment in industry to China. Will the Liberals attach a common-sense condition of buying Canadian-built ships to BC Ferries in order to receive their $30 million subsidy?
Great question. The Honourable Minister of Transport and Internal Trade.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the member opposite for that important question. I absolutely share his concern when it comes to government procurement at all levels. Now is a time when we need to support Canadian workers and Canadian industries, and we need to work closely with our allies and trade partners. That project, Mr. Speaker, was not a federal government project.
Davenport.
Defending Canadians is one of our government's top priorities. Given the increasingly volatile global landscape, it is vital that our Canadian Armed Forces are properly equipped to meet the challenges we ask them to face. It is urgent that we take immediate action to strengthen our armed forces and support those that are serving our country. Can the Secretary of State for Defense Procurement update us on the government's plans to meet our NATO commitments and ensure we're doing everything possible to protect our country?
The Honourable Secretary of State for Defence Procurement.
Mr. Speaker, since this is the first time on my feet in the 45th, I'd like to thank the good people of Kelowna, BC for placing their trust and confidence in me and electing me to this House for the second time. Speaker, yesterday the Prime Minister confirmed that Canada will meet its NATO 2% targets this fiscal year, 5 years ahead of schedule, with an additional investment of $9.3 billion. We're accelerating procurement, modernizing capabilities, and ensuring the troops have the tools and equipment they need to protect Canada and Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Acadie-Annapolis.
Mr. Speaker, the economy of Acadie-Annapolis and rural Nova Scotia relies heavily on a strong lobster fishery. Yet this past season went from bad to worse According to a Global News report on May 2nd, some harvesters in southwest Nova Scotia had to give up on their season because they could not fish profitably. No lobsters and no price. This is unacceptable. Will the Minister of Fisheries finally listen to commercial fishers where her predecessors failed to act, take unregulated and unreported fishing seriously, and implement immediate measures to protect our lobster stocks before it's too late?
They should start like lobster fisheries, like to start young lobsters.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I'm very pleased to say that I was in Nova Scotia the last couple of weeks. I met with harvesters, I met with lobster fishers, and I want to assure the member opposite that I will continue to do this work. We need to ensure that we have balanced fisheries, and we need to ensure that we support authorized fishing. Thank you.
The honourable member for Vancouver East.
The so-called Stronger Borders Act make Harper's Bill C-51 look like child's play. Bill C-2 is a sweeping attack on Canadian civil liberties. The RCMP and CSIS can make information demands from internet providers, banks, doctors, landlords, even therapists without judicial oversight. This isn't about border security. It's government overreach and big brother tactics, plain and simple. It's a violation of our privacy, and it will be challenged in court. Will the Prime Minister do the right thing, respect the Charter, and withdraw this dangerous bill?
Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, the Strong Borders Act will help keep Canadians safe. The bill will go after transnational child sex offenders via information sharing with our international policing partners, give law enforcement the tools they need, choke off organized crime's illegal profits with a crackdown on money laundering, grant our border officers provision to search export containers, and stop auto theft rings, Mr. Speaker. We will do this while ensuring the charter rights of Canadians, as well as due process, and make sure that our civil liberties and privacy rights are protected.
This brings question period to an end.
45 more minutes. 3:07 on
It being 3:07, the House will now proceed to the taking of the deferred recorded division on the amendment to the motion of Ms. Normandin relating to the business of supply.
All right. Genius. Not so genius today. Yeah, I guess we were right. The Prime Minister asked a lot of questions today. Or answered, I should say. Sorry. He answered quite a bit. It was actually pretty good. Mona had lost her friend. Highly respected real estate. And like I said, Mark Carney answered a lot of the questions. The first was about to give a recap. We got this drill, baby, drill. Drilling to me makes no sense unless it's private investment, government money into the fuel of the future. And America's really launched up their the oil wells that they had already ready on the books with investment dollars ready that were stopped by Biden. Trump just opened them up. Anwar and the Alaska is good, light, tight oil, and no processing needed. So I'm not. The oil that they're producing now, but to expand it, investment money, and it isn't coming to Canada. Like it or not, it's not coming to Canada because the regulations are long. The oil is they call it the tar sands because it's like tar. And they've found all kinds of oil. It's in the ocean a couple places, but it's more about getting it out and maximizing profits, making it more fuel efficient, because they're using trains right now, thus bringing the cost up because, it's a very inefficient way to send the stuff. But I'm not going to go into that. The real big thing is, honestly, in Canada, we have a major resource, and I say it all the time, it's hydro. Quebec has proven it. It's all someone has to do is every time I hear about this, it's you're missing the biggest argument. We have the largest proven energy reserves of hydro. Quebec has a whole aluminum industry. They're one of the largest, make Canada one of the largest producers of aluminum because they have a hydro industry making cheap power. And we got them all on the books, and and private interest is more about, oil. Horrible. I worked in the oil industry. It was fun, good work. It's heavy work, but the other question was like this GC Strategies, this motion that they want the $63 million back. They can't. They'll never get your money. They can, even in private industry, if you sign a contract with somebody and they provided somewhat of the service, even the paperwork for it, this is just one of these things, right? It makes good clips, but it's like totally against contract law, right? You know what I mean? You put a downstroke on something, and if you don't like it going forward, you don't just, well, I don't want to do the rest. Well, what do you mean? Okay, well then the downstroke you paid is gone, and expecting that back. You know what I mean? Silly, very silly. It's a big. Oh, we got a lot of commenting here going on, and this is my point of the day. We have had more people die of drug overdose, just drug overdose, never mind ruined lives, than in World War II. And so someone wants to think about who's pointing the fingers. Who's pointing the fingers and why? Of course, hey, if you're an accused person, you're going to point the fingers at other people. And hey, there's a lot of guilty people out there. The country has literally has wiped out more people than in World War II. On drugs. To me, it's a big thing. I think that's where the Conservatives should be focused more on. I know it makes good, this GC Strategies. They want to promote oil, okay? Oil's the only thing that I hear from the Conservatives of late, which is surprising. They have people from all across the nation. Someone mentioned here about Ebi not wanting to pipelines in his province. Well, that's actually the political will of the people. In British Columbia, they don't want it. They have a lot of sensitive, beautiful areas. And oil has been known, pipelines have been known to break and spill. They've all had that happen. Every single one has had at least one problem. And it's a political will. And he's the leader of the province. And he got in on that. So this idea that the Conservatives are like, well, we have to have oil every which way. Get it to Hudson Bay. Manitoba's happy about it. Saskatchewan would be happy about a pipeline to Churchill or Nelson Bay, but mostly Churchill I think is better. This idea that and then they said talk about Grays Bay, which is up in north. It's not going to BC. People in BC don't want it. I don't see what the hell one industry has to roughshod over everyone in the country. And like I said, Saudi Arabia has really good oil. They just have found this huge find just on the border of Venezuela. It's actually in their neighboring country. Won't get too much of that. And it's good oil, good easy oil, low manufacturing. And oil is not being used the way it was decades ago. Plastics. But it's not the energy of the future. I'm sorry. If it upsets you, it's just kind of a fact. Europe is going EV. Well, answered nothing. Well, he answered nothing, just word salad. Have a good one. I thought he answered a bit. He said we're not going to go back on GC Strategies. The housing under Tamara and the other MP, sorry his name, escapes me, but about housing, I think they hit a couple. They got a couple, three bases on that one. Throw a couple home runs on those ones. The housing it looks like the numbers are going down. The Bloc had some questions about the carbon tax rebate. They're like, why don't we get a rebate? And the Liberal, I don't know. I think his answer was like, well, it's just not calculated that way. It's a like cap and trade system, so you don't get money back. I guess that's okay. Northern BC is desperate. No, they're not desperate. No one's desperate for a pipeline. Northern BC has a little bit of oil up there, St. John and areas. They just look at the polling. I find for a friend, the polling shows majority of of British Columbia. But like online, it's very skewed. People think, oh, there's going to be riots out there, and then there's no one there, because there's like, just like on Twitter or X, you want to call it, there's like 5 people doing 99% of the tweeting. That's all it is. And people think, oh, that's real life. Well, you don't know these people. They have name 323-555 Kanakahau. You know, like who was that? It's a lobby that's happening within Canada, it seems, and a bit from the Texas way. You know, it's investment money. You look at the polling and it just doesn't fly. Quebec, this idea that we're going to like run roughshod over Quebec and put a pipeline across their province, that's not going to happen. Like I said, they figured out the better way, and it's make hydropower and sell, and then make products from that cheap hydropower. Input and output, right? There was a few, to be honest, there was a couple that they kind of obfuscated their duty to answer the question. But I think overall they did. We will not get energy investment in oil or gas until these restrictive bills are off the books. We're just not going to get it. They've found larger oil reserves in Alaska and better oil in Venezuela in large amounts that they don't need to use tar sand oil. While oil it's being used less. We're using less oil. As more EVs, as EVs are like now 500 kilometers on a charge. It looks like Africa may have the more modern cars than us. They're selling all kinds of these BVD $10,000 vehicles in like Africa. So they may be getting like the more modern brand new cars than us, and we'll be running on oil. Oil has the one problem with it. I like the industry and stuff. I have nothing against the industry. I think that the government should give them money to help them retool, to be honest, into the future, like flying cars, or whatever the heck, something that we need, weapons right now, pumps for wells across the nation, but high end, high value added, and high, you know, maybe rockets, you know. But we're actually getting farther and farther behind because of our oil and gas lobby. Less maintenance on an electric vehicle, a lot less maintenance, less work, all this stuff. They have these things in China. You can Google this. The taxi cab services. They've solved the problem of the charging. It's like 10 seconds. It flips, changes the battery, just like you would out of your thing. I don't know what the sorry, man. Coming out here. Yeah, it's transition. Yeah, it's coming fast. It looks like maybe America, there's talk actually, a rumor that America will be getting EVs from China. That's a possibility. And allowing our vehicles to be sold and our products to be sold, at least American products, I should say, to be sold in China. So opening up the Great China Wall, and them to say, okay, well, then buy our vehicles. Don't give us 50% tariffs, not 100% tariffs on our vehicles. And they still will be cheaper than our products. And we'll have to, I think, help the car companies and any up-and-coming company to make the new products. EVs will come really fast if you've been aware of your area. I know you're in mine. The EVs, battery plants that are going up everywhere. It starts with the places that need to be built that are new. It's the battery plant, because that's different requirements in these factories. So you're gonna, once these things are coming online, which they should be in the next year or so. The car companies start making electric vehicles. They have to steal the technology from China or find it out. I'm not into this. A newbie, yeah. Zero. Look at Zero Motorcycles. BVD. Okay, I'm going to say this, and I said this. We have to save. There's 120,000 jobs in the auto industry, and we have to have a high manufactured industry in Canada, because if we ever were to go have like Kinetic, the art of, we need to have these industries within our borders. We can't rely on, say, a country that maybe we're an adversary with to supply our weapons. It just probably won't happen. So there's a requirement for that. I don't know this, guys. There's a big requirement to have these industries, but the whole idea is we're going to be most likely EV. These battery plants are going to create a lot of work. So BVD has built basically the modern day Detroit. They built a city the size of San Francisco, and it's one company. Where you live, where you eat, where you work, all within the same city limits. So when it's just like the law of economics, economies of scale. And there are economies of scale. The city's not done, completed, but it's pretty close. If not, you know what I mean, they're producing stuff, but they're still working. You can Google it. It's the economies of scale. They're going to be able to sell vehicles for $5,000. And once they have a monopoly, if we allow them to have a monopoly, then the price will go up. But like they did with a lot of other industries. But we have to have our politicians on top of that to help our industry build the super modern stuff of the future, which isn't cars. Cars are like TVs now. Remember when TVs were expensive? If you're 58, cars were expensive. TVs, were expensive in your day, one in a household. Now, people have in the shower, right? They have them everywhere. It's a thing, and cars are basically trying to figure out the way to make really cheap ones, and then we have to help our major high value industries to make the new supersonic missiles or whatever, what have you. And I agree with Carney with saying he's wants to have industry in Canada build the stuff for our Canadian military. Like, to me, it's just a common sensor. All right. That's all we have for today, folks. Like, subscribe, and have a great day.